I'm Jana Duggar, and for a long time, people thought they already knew my story. They thought silence meant agreement. They thought staying meant weakness. They thought not leaving meant I had no thoughts of my own, but silence is not emptiness. Sometimes silence is where the thinking happens. I grew up in a house that never slept, 19 children. Always noise, always motion, always responsibility. From the outside, it looked organized, structured, faith-centered. From the inside, it felt like a constant rhythm you learned to live inside of. I was born early in the line. That meant I grew up fast. I learned how to hold a baby before I learned how to dream about my own life. I learned how to calm cries, prepare meals, manage schedules, keep peace. And I did it well because I was expected to. People often say Jana was the responsible one. That's true. But what they don't say is what responsibility costs when it comes too early. When you're needed every minute, you don't get many moments to ask yourself what you need. Faith was central in our home, not just something we believe, something we lived by, structured life around, measured choices through. Faith gave us meaning, but it also gave us rules. Rules about how girls should behave, rules about what obedience looks like, rules about patience, silence, submission. And for a long time, I believed that following the rules was the same as being faithful. I didn't question much. Not because I couldn't, but because questioning felt like failing. And I never wanted to be the one who caused discomfort. I watched my siblings grow up and leave. Some married young, some moved far away, some found new paths. People always asked why I stayed. Why isn't Jana married? What's wrong? Is she too picky? Is she being held back? The truth is simpler and more complicated than any rumor. I stayed because I felt needed. I stayed because I thought it was right. I stayed because I believed my purpose was here. And also because I didn't yet know what my life would look like if I stepped outside the role I had always played. When you grow up in a system that defines you early, it's hard to imagine yourself outside of it. I was the helper, the organizer, the dependable one. Those labels become comfortable, and comfort can quietly turn into a cage. I don't say that with anger. I say it with honesty. There were moments when I felt fulfilled, moments when caring for others felt meaningful, moments when I believed this was exactly where I was meant to be. But there were also quiet moments late at night when I wondered what my life would feel like if it were just mine. Not rebellious thoughts, not dramatic dreams, simple questions. What would I choose if no one needed me right now? Who would I be if I weren't holding everything together? Those questions didn't make me less faithful. They made me human. Public attention complicated everything. When our family became well known, our private life became public property. People discussed us as characters, not people. They spoke about us as symbols, not individuals. And when painful things happened, things I won't dramatize here, the weight became heavier. I learned something important during that time. Silence can be protective. Sometimes you don't speak because you don't have words yet. Sometimes you don't speak because you're still processing. Sometimes you don't speak because the world doesn't need access to your healing. I chose not to explain myself to strangers, not because I had nothing to say, but because my story wasn't ready to be told loudly. There's strength in choosing when to speak. People assume that staying quiet means being controlled, but often it means being careful. Over time, I watched my beliefs evolve, not disappear, but mature. I learned that faith is not fragile. It doesn't break when you ask questions. It deepens when you stop pretending. I learned that obedience without understanding creates resentment, but obedience with conviction creates peace. And I realized something that changed me. God does not need me to be small to be faithful. I don't regret my upbringing. It shaped me. It taught me discipline, patience, care. But I also don't believe that growth means pretending nothing was hard. It was hard. Being the oldest daughter comes with invisible labor, emotional labor, mental labor, the kind that doesn't show up on camera. I carried more than people saw, and yet I also gained something valuable. I learned how to listen to myself quietly. As the world speculated, I was learning discernment, not rushing into decisions just to satisfy expectations, not choosing a path simply because it looked right from the outside. Marriage is a good thing, but it is not a requirement for worth. Freedom is a good thing, but it doesn't always come through leaving dramatically. Sometimes freedom comes slowly through boundaries, clarity, and self-trust. I began to understand that my life didn't have to look like anyone else's to be meaningful. I could love my family without disappearing inside it. I could honor my faith without silencing my conscience. I could grow without rejecting where I came from. That balance is difficult, but it is possible. Today, I am still becoming. I am not a headline. I am not a mystery to be solved. I am not a symbol for anyone's argument. I am a woman who spent years learning responsibility and is now learning ownership. Ownership of my time, ownership of my voice, ownership of my future. I no longer measure my life by how well I meet expectations that were never mine to begin with. I measure it by peace. Peace doesn't mean everything is settled. It means I'm no longer at war with myself. If you've ever felt stuck between loyalty and self-honesty, if you've ever stayed quiet longer than people thought you should, if you've ever been labeled simply because you didn't explain yourself, I want you to know this. Your timeline is allowed to be different. Your growth is allowed to be quiet. Your story belongs to you. I didn't wait too long. I wasn't left behind. I was becoming ready. And that is something no one else gets to define. I'm Jana Duggar, and this is my story told in my own time in my own voice.